Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of, I think we're calling it HotPants now. This is Sir Action Slacks along with Hotbid, our little talk show once a week with our one guest. Hotbid, who we got this week?
We have David L.D. Gorman.
Oh my god, is that David L.D. Gorman? L.D.Z.? L.Deeps?
It is me. Hello, friends.
In case
I am here.
in case you guys don't know, David L.D. Gorman, he's most well known for some of the best and famous calls in Dota history, made popular by the BTS highlight video. Slacks, do you remember any of those?
The highlight videos? Yeah, well, what are you talking about?
LD's favorite famous calls.
Famous calls?
Yeah, come on, Slacks.
No.
Are you too big? You too big for your britches now?
What the
Turning
hell?
down our event?
Take it easy,
Turning
dude.
down events?
Take it easy, homie.
Who would have thought that Sir Action Slacks would be turning down any events?
Oh my
Let alone
god.
the
He
summit.
turned on the summit.
What
A
are you
year
told me.
ago, weren't you driving cars for us a year ago? Jake?
Yes, I was, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault. My
He was
girlfriend made
shuttling.
me.
He was
Nah.
shuttling people around a year ago. And today, Slacks is such a big deal. He won't even come. I can't even get him here. You're coming. He won't come.
I know. I'll be there. I'll be there on Saturday. To
All right,
visit.
we're supposed to have a talk show here, you bastards. But
Well,
It's-
I mean,
Anyway.
before you hopped on, Slacks is just like the summit. You know, that's old news.
What's
I'm,
the new news?
You know, he only does Valve events now.
oh my god, you guys are
Oh,
so
only
you,
dumb.
flies-
you forgot
he only
about
flies
Moonduck,
business class.
okay?
You guys
Okay.
are so
Business
dumb,
class.
dude.
What is the name of your newest tournament, Jake? The Mr. Cat Cup? Who comes up with these names?
Don't you dare insult Mr. Cat in my presence. He is a
You do
philanthropist.
They're bringing you down, Jake. Come
I
to the
know.
dark side.
I know.
Like, that
I know.
trailer
yeah.
is quite a thing.
Yeah, well, you know.
I haven't seen it yet. I just saw the name and I immediately puked and closed my
All right, hey, this is not about me though. This is about you, LD Gorman. This is about you. We watched it on here because I'm mostly interested, if you don't mind, about talking about the old LD. Now, ever since I knew you, and a lot of new people, Dota's player base has expanded greatly over the years. So, LD, I want to talk to you about just stuff that not a lot of people probably know about you, because at least from my perspective, a lot of other people's perspective, when they join Dota, you're the head of the biggest studio in Dota. You're one of the most successful people in Dota. You're the guy who casts all the finals. People don't know about old LD, so I want to start at the beginning. I want you to tell us the story of where LD came from and how this wild ride has ended up with you being the most powerful man in the Dotaverse.
How
I can
far back?
see your
How
face.
far back do we want to go?
I wanna go
here? Are we
deep
going
back.
to
I wanna
like,
go-
the gleam in my
Honestly.
father's eye, like to my
Honestly,
great-grandfather?
David, we want if like currently everyone knows
the
you as
dawn
Captain
of time.
Captain America. We want the first Avenger. We want like that movie.
Yeah.
You know, like the origin movie where
You
you're
want
the
my origin story?
you're the weak
All right.
weak skinny guy at the beginning before you get to become the juggernaut that is BTS.
Oh, jeez. Well, where to begin? Well, I'm one of four. I'm the oldest child. I grew up in a very like academically inclined family. My parents always encouraged me to read a lot when I was a kid. I was like the kind of kid who would like I would sneak into the bathroom late at night and I would turn on the light and I would lock the door and I would just pretend like I was having like the most excruciating like Suns fan-esque like 6 hour just like shit-a-thon in the bathroom. But I was really just reading the whole time. And so my mom grew wise to this eventually, and she'd come and she'd bang on the door, David Gorman, go to bed. 'Cause, you know, if I just had the light on my room, she knew. So that was my childhood. I played a lot of sports. I did a lot of reading. I did well in school. I was a pretty happy, like well-adjusted, you know, normal kid. And then I discovered video games, and that's really where things kind of went wrong. On a somewhat serious note, though, video games definitely are not always a positive thing. Like when I think like when I entered high school, I got really into Counter-Strike, like straight up just addicted to CS 1.0. I guess it was. I started like right when retail came out.
Mhm.
Prior to that, it was just a free mod for Half-Life, and I went from like played a lot of sports, very social, outgoing, and I kind of channeled all of that into the Counter-Strike world. So like I still socialize with people, but it's all online. I dropped out of clubs. I would just try and rush to get my homework done as quickly as possible in school. I rarely ever did homework at home, even though I took some pretty like challenging classes. I was doing AP classes and stuff, but I mostly would get all the work done in school. So I'd come home at like, I don't know, you wake up at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., you get home at like 2 p.m. I would just play Counter-Strike for like 10 hours. And we had this kitchen timer, which was used to track our gaming time because we had like limits. We had a time limit. At first, good. My mom didn't want me to play at all, but eventually there was a time limit, and we got 2 hours a day. This was like the majority of my time in high school. So you'd start the timer. Now, my mom was busy. She ran her own business. She's in and out of the house. She wasn't home when I would get home. So I would cheat, well, of course, just like blatantly. So I'd set the timer for 2 minutes.
Can I stop you for a second? How did you track so many kids? Because you said you had 3 siblings, so did she have 4 timers?
No, because it was only me and my brother that were addicts, and there was only one computer that we could play on. So we had to take turns.
Wait, so you had 2 hours between the two of you?
2 hours each.
Okay.
What are you gonna get done with that? It's bullshit.
I know, you could barely even, you don't even need to use the poop sock at that point. It's terrible.
The poop sock.
Jesus Christ.
No poop socks. But so I would start the timer like as soon as I got home, 2 hours, perfectly above board, and then mom's not home yet. I think it's one of the ones that you can turn. So I just turn the dial. I'm like, let's give myself another 30 minutes. So my mom would come home at like 6 p.m. I've been home for like 4 hours. I've played like 4 or 5 hours of Counter-Strike already, and the timer's at like 1 hour 55 minutes. And like if I heard the front door open, I would immediately bolt up, sprint into the kitchen, which was right next to the computer room, and quickly turn it to be like right there. So she quickly realized this was all baloney because sometimes she would come home early in the day and I would already be playing, and she never saw me doing homework because I did it all like in what are those? Study hall or whatever at school, or just at the end of class. So this was me as a high schooler. I was a very good student. I was a very lazy student, though. Both of my parents are super hardworking, like really just industrious people. They both run their own businesses. My mom eventually sold hers and just kind of started taking care of my dad's parents who have Alzheimer's full time. But
what kind of businesses did they run?
My mom ran a collectible doll store, actually. So
collectible doll store, okay.
Oh, jeez, that's
it was booming back in the 90s.
Well, it could be booming now. If she
there's still
ran it now,
a market for it. The internet has hurt the internet. Oh, God. That's the new collectibles. No, these were like actual. These were not sex dolls. These were like for people who like really nice like porcelain or vinyl.
God.
Like, realistic, like the creepy dolls.
Yeah.
The ones that actually scare you because they're so well crafted. It's like that could be a real like mini creature. So we had them all around my house when I was a kid, and they were terrifying, dude. Like there was
explains a lot about you, honestly.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, dude. I'm jumpy and I'm weird, and the dolls are probably the biggest reason why. She's mostly gotten rid of them now. I think she's got a couple around the house, but it's still weird going home because like I don't live there anymore. I haven't lived with my folks for like 5-6 years now, and I went away to college, so I haven't really been around the house that much. But there's like those 1 or 2 dolls, and they're like way too happy, and they're always smiling, and you round a corner, and it's just right there in front of you. So
always watching.
I'm a little jumpy. Maybe that's
so
why.
So if you meet
the dolls...
LD at TI, make sure to bring one of those things.
Yeah, make him a customized doll.
Collectible dolls.
Yes.
But okay. She had the largest retail doll store in the country.
Wow.
It was a giant warehouse in the whole U.S. Yeah.
In the country.
It eventually became the second.
What'd your dad do?
My dad is an accountant and a lawyer, and he also does a bunch of other random stuff. He has a law degree. He's certified accountant. He's basically
law degree from where?
Oh my God! What is
from University of Pennsylvania.
Why are we getting
that
into
guy's
this?
fucking smart. We're trying to figure out how smart he is, dude. He went to
my dad's a lot smarter than me.
How does he feel about Joe Paterno and that whole situation?
UPenn, not Penn State.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Jesus, Ken.
Anyone that goes to
UPenn.
Let me tell you. Anyone that goes to UPenn, if you want to piss them off, just ask them about Paterno.
What the hell was that?
Because one school is a lot better than the other school slacks.
Do you even know who Joe Paterno is, Jake?
Hell no.
Alright, we're not gonna get into it.
All right. Anyway,
I'll look it up on
let's-
Google. All right. So we've
don't
gone
wanna
from
Don't let
the
Ken derail us.
we've seen the beginning, the origins of LD now. The dolls always
So
staring.
this was when I was a wee little lad.
Yep, the
Yeah.
TikTok.
The
Tell
doll
me
staring,
about.
cheating to play extra video games at all hours of the day. Oh, I have a great story actually from when I was younger, just to quickly sidetrack. So,
Alright.
I was really into Secret of Mana for the SNES. I loved RPGs
Oh,
as a kid, and that was
shit!
like one of the big ones. So
Yeah.
I would play them as they came out. That was like the big Christmas present. Nothing would get me more excited than like a fresh SNES RPG like Final Fantasy 3, which I guess now is 6. They've like
Chrono
fixed the
Trigger.
numbering.
Yep.
Chrono Trigger, Secret of
Kefka
Mana, Super
still
Mario
best
RPG, all that shit.
enemy ever, right?
So we would sneak down at night to play. This was before I started playing computer games, and my brother and I would sneak down. But Danny, my little sister, she's I think 4 years younger than me. So like I was like 8, and she was like 4-year-old. You know, she wasn't really a game. She wasn't like didn't know how to play games at that point. So Mike and I would sneak down, and Danny would like start to find out. Like she saw us sneaking down, so she would follow us down. And so what we figured out was that if we gave her a controller, she would be happy. So we didn't have the 3-player like port thing. We didn't even know existed. So Mike and I were actually playing. It's a 3-character game, and we gave Danny a controller that wasn't plugged in. And this actually worked incredibly well for about a period of like 2 weeks, I want to say, until one day something clicked in her head, and she realized like, wait a second, my character's not moving the way I want him to. Something's broken. Here, let me try your controller. We're like, no, you keep on using that one. So she freaked out. We had au pairs back then because both my parents worked full time, and they stayed in like a basement apartment, which was right next to where the console area was. So she started screaming and bawling and carrying on. Needless to say, I was grounded. My brother and I recall it as being like my mom telling us we'd be grounded for 6 months. She recalls it as being 1 week. But the point is, we were fiends. It started early, and it's continued to this day.
Indeed, fiended.
And so that's where the groundwork was laying for the addiction. And then we go to college. What happened in college?
So I went to college. I actually quit gaming entirely for my freshman.
Where did you go to college?
And part of my sophomore year, Dartmouth in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's cold as fuck there. Not recommend. In the spring, it's wonderful. It's a very like party-heavy campus, I guess you could say, because there's really not much to do in Hanover, New Hampshire. Very cold, so you put on your beer jacket and you feel better. It's very frat-driven, like social scene. But I made some really good friends there freshman year, who mostly remained like my core group throughout my time in college.
Did you know anyone named Welton?
Welton. I'm sure there's someone there named Welton. Do I know someone named Welton?
It was just my friend who went there the same years as you.
What the?
That says a lot about you, Ken.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been. I feel like I would remember if I knew a Welton, so I'm gonna guess I didn't.
That's why I asked. It's not like a name like John, you know? You know what, John?
Good old Welton.
So did you play? So you didn't play for a while. What got you back into it?
Counter-Strike was my thing back then. Like, this was around the time when I started to play Dota, but Dota was like my kind of fun casual game, and like CS was like my hardcore competitive. Like, I started playing competitive Counter-Strike like my freshman year of high school, and I basically played it nonstop for like 4 years. Then I went to college. I took a break about midway through my sophomore year. I felt like my social life was pretty established. I was like, okay, I can go back to games now, guys. It'll be fine. So I reinstalled Counter-Strike. My brother had started playing Dota with me, and my best friend Will, who lived like 2 houses down the street when I was a kid, we would always pub together, and we played on Thrown It a lot. And my brother actually was really good in Dota 1. He was the #1 ranked player on Thrown It. Do you want to know who number 2 was?
Who was number 2?
AUI 2000.
Whoa.
Okay, wow. Shit.
And Tides of Time, I think, was number 3. So, like, this was, like, way back when, but he was pretty good. I was never as good as him, but I was, like, 20th on the ladder. Like, the ladder, I'm not sure exactly. It had some sort of elo system, and I think it was also partially how much you played, but I think he lost, like, less than 1% of his games, because we would always stack, and there was no matchmaking in Dota 1, and this was what pretty much everyone did. So you'd host the lobby. You always wanted to be Sentinel, because that means like you're the ones hosting, and so you probably have to stack. And then Scourge is always the random pubbies, so it's like if matchmaking was always a stack versus randoms, you're probably gonna win more than you lose. And this was just like the way most Dota in-house leagues, or not in-house leagues, but like ladder type systems would work. Dota Cash was kind of similar. I think eventually they added like proper matchmaking and elo, and they mixed it up a bit. That was much later on. But yeah, we played a lot of Dota. Counter-Strike was still my competitive game. I never played like Dota matches. I did watch some Dota 1 competitive way back then. This was like probably when Merlini was just getting started as a player, like 2005, 2006. But I never actually played. I never had that much interest in it. Counter-Strike was my jam. So that college went well. I got senior year, and I had a crisis as to what to do with my life. I thought about going to business school, thought about going to law school.
What was your plan if you didn't? If you were like on track to do something, right? Like you were graduating with a degree in whatever your major was, right?
No, see, that's the problem. Is my major was philosophy. So I had
oh my god.
So the video games were the plan.
No, why?
Yes.
Why didn't you just get a job at the local philosophy factory? Went down the street.
Yeah. So that was a mistake.
Hey, come on! It was good for Mafia. It's pretty.
Yeah, it was great for Mafia. That was really what I had in mind when I went to college. Is how do I become a better Mafia player? I had actually never played Mafia until like a year ago. So.
Oh wow.
All
right.
I'm a Mafia newbie. Yeah, so I majored in philosophy. So, I points in college. I wanted to go into computer science. I wanted to go into engineering, but I was very lazy and also wanted to have a lot of time to game and socialize. So, I mean, part of it was philosophy is a discipline where if you're pretty comfortable with writing a lot, you can procrastinate, and you don't really have to go to class. I'm not going to say that's the only reason why I went into philosophy, but it definitely was a factor. I enjoyed a lot of it, but it also was very flexible as a student. So you can not really go to class that much, but spend 3 days writing your final paper, before you usually have a couple papers per term. Just a couple days before the paper, read all the coursework, study up on whatever the subject at hand is, and then put together a paper. Because most of the classes don't really have tests, at least at liberal arts colleges. They're more paper-based. So if you're a good writer, if you're someone who can write quickly, then you can get by and do pretty well. So I ended up doing philosophy, but I did have a lot of other interests. Originally, I wanted to go into computer science really bad, which I guess partially how I ended up getting back to gaming later. So I graduated. I originally did the New York City Teaching Fellows, and which is kind of like Teach for America, for those who've heard of it. Basically, you get placed into an underprivileged inner city environment, and you try to teach the kids. And it's often people who have not actually spent their entire college training to be a teacher, which is what most teachers traditionally have done. That was quite frankly a disaster. So
really,
so I had no training. The biggest thing with inner city teaching, or just with teaching underprivileged students in general, is the biggest challenge is actually not teaching part, it's the classroom management. So it's getting the kids to respect you, to view you as an authority figure, to keep the class moving smoothly. And I was just the worst authority figure ever. The kids did not respect. They could see how young I was. They could see that I wasn't, from their neighborhood. I didn't come from their background. I was white, and they're all Hispanic or black. And I just didn't have the presence that you need and this is a problem for a lot of young teachers, but I think especially for someone like me who also had no actual formal training or practical experience in it. So I went into it oh, I love computer science. I love math. I want to share my love of these things with these kids. And it's well, first, you got to get them to listen. That's the hard part. So it didn't go well. I actually was quite depressed at the time. I'd gone through an ugly breakup and just wasn't doing very well. So I ended up deciding it wasn't for me. I resigned. I moved back home with my folks. I eventually, over the next couple of years, I ended up going into stuff that was more my original interests: computers, IT consulting, business consulting. So I was a lot of software related stuff. So I did some software testing. I helped design systems for the engineers at the company I worked at. So I kind of bounced around a bit. I eventually ended up going independent. And it was around that time when I became a kind of a freelancer. I worked for myself. I did pretty well on my own, so I had a lot of free time. And this was around the time when I started to explore casting. So I had been playing Dota this whole time. That was my big hobby. In the evenings, I'd play 8-10 hours a day. On the weekends, 4 to 6 hours during the week.
What did your parents think? Did you make enough money to move out if you wanted to, or were you just kind of?
Oh, I had moved out by then. So I lived at home for a year or two or something after I moved back home, and then I moved out on my own. Basically, my parents have the perspective that as long as I'm not coming around asking for money or handouts, they don't really care too much what I do, as long as it's not horribly immoral or unethical. I mean, their concern is mostly for my well-being.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't have any complaints. But
Well, what do they think now?
well, they thought I was a dumbass when I started, and I don't think they were wrong. I definitely think there's an element
What
of
did they
luck.
say to you
When
you told them that you were planning on doing this, like moving to California and all that stuff?
Well, by that point, like I think they had already, because I had cast TI2. Like they saw the stream, they saw the number of viewers, they saw the prize pool. So I think like it had already felt a little more legitimate by that point. And so they were like very lukewarm in support. But like, oh, pursue your dreams, but don't be stupid about it.
Right. All right.
Right.
So
Also, my parents really didn't want me to leave the East Coast. Was the other thing.
But then
so.
now, but now, what did they say? Because BTS is a big deal now.
I mean, now they're just super proud. They're like blown away. I mean, my mom likes to brag about all her kids, but she's always like, "Oh, I'm bragging about you to all my friends." So, I mean, I think they're happy, but we'll see. If the success dries up, maybe I'll start getting shit from them.
So let's get back to the story here. Now we saw your upbringing, your interest in Dota. You said that you started getting into casting, but so what, in your opinion, was the point? What was that critical moment where you went from casually being a caster, being into Dota, playing it for years, into being like, all right, this is it. I'm starting to make it. I'm starting to become someone in Dota. I'm starting to get this career underway. What do you think that was?
Well, so as far as starting to become someone in Dota, I would say, like, for me, that was either when I got invited to TI2 or after I cast there. Because after that event, like, I definitely blew up. And, part of it was I got, like, I think when you look at a lot of how, like, the top casters got where they are, the vast majority of them, outside maybe the Vlats or Tobis, who have just been there like from basically the beginning, so they were always like the caster for their respective regions. But outside of those people, it's like you have to have the game or those games or that event where you just blow up, and a lot of that is luck. A lot of it is getting the right game. Like you look at Odie Pixel getting that like 300-minute game. I don't know if he is where he is, at least not to had the success that he's had without that game, or maybe it takes longer. If I didn't get the game with the play at TI2, if I didn't, end up getting invited to TI2, I don't know if I'd even be casting right now. So I think TI2 definitely was it for me as far as when I blew up. There's definitely a lot of talent required to cast. I think a lot of it is luck and being in the right place at the right time. You need that mixture of both. As far as when I felt like, wow, like this is like I can make it a career type thing.
Yeah.
I would probably say it was when the Kickstarter finished, and like when I got in my car, I drove out here. Like the day that I arrived, it didn't really feel like, oh, this is like a full-blown business. It felt like, okay, this is my life now. This is not like a hobby. This is not something I do in the evenings while I have the real job. That like, I didn't really tell my parents much about it until it started to like take off. I don't want them to give me shit for it basically, or get the wrong idea and worry about me too much. But that was the point where I'm like, this is something I can actually talk about full time.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's awesome. So a little bit about the Kickstarter and all that, and the growth of BTS. A lot of people have gotten famous as Dota casters. They've gotten their time, but you turn that into something else. You turn that into a company, something that other people could come be a part of, like as you said to yourself, like a lifelong decision. So why? I mean, what prompted you to create BTS, get that Kickstarter going that was so beneficial for you, and then kind of make it into a lifelong thing instead of just casting,
Well, so I think the thing with us is we've always tried to grow in like a controlled fashion, like within our means. So, at the time I was casting from my bedroom in Philadelphia. Parker was casting from his family's place in Melbourne. And things were going well, but we didn't really have the financial resources where it would have been responsible to just move out, like start the business with nothing. We didn't have investors approaching us. And so I think the reason why we wanted to run the Kickstarter was because we felt like the community loved the content we were creating. That was clear from the G1 League,
right?
Season 4, which was like the first big event post TI that we saw at TI2. Like TI2 was really the advent of Valve trying to push the boundaries as far as production value, where they actually had player profile. I mean, it's nothing like what they do now. Now it's completely on another level, but they started to do player profiles. They actually did desks during breaks. They translated interviews. They actually connected with the Asian players. Yeah, there was like some cringeworthy or silly moments like the telephones mistranslations and stuff like that, but they made that effort, right, to show this human side of the players. And so we took that into the G1 League, and I think fans really appreciate it. And even though it was online coverage, so we thought, okay, if we can do this with only online coverage at the time, everything's just a very basic cast. Like, what can we do if we have some resources and we're all on site together? We're not limited by being little heads in boxes on an overlay. So that was why we started. We felt like there was a room for it in the community at the time. Join Dota was literally just Toby as far as like casting content went. So there's only so much the guy can cast, and we felt like there was room in the market. We loved casting. We thought there was a lot of room to improve the average viewership product and like the way the content was presented. And so we ran with it. We got a ton of support. I mean, pretty much if you look back at that Kickstarter video, like, pretty much every major Dota personality at the time agreed to help be a part of it, which I think
your original Kickstarter video was not as good.
It was
I claim
terrible.
all credit.
Oh, actually, you're right. So this is a fun part about I don't know if I still have a copy of it, but the original Kickstarter video was actually terrible, and I showed it to HotPants. Yeah. And HotPants was like, "You can't release this. This is like absolutely awful. Like, you need to start over." So I was the one video editing it, mind you, and I had no experience editing. It was really long.
It was like 10 minutes.
Really poorly. There was no music. I was like really poorly scripted. It was way too much talking. It was just bad, dude. It was. I think the thing is, Ken, I don't think it would have affected that much how much people contributed, because I think most of the people just love BTS at the time anyway. But it would be, looking back on it, I'd be super embarrassed that got released. So, yeah, Ken deserves a lot of credit for that video not being shit. But I mean, everyone really helped out. Like, we had Bruno in there, James. I think Period Flax, like pretty much the one person who wasn't there though, which everyone brought up at the time, was Toby.
Oh,
we had beef at the time. We had
oh shit!
That's right. Why wasn't he in it?
Just trying to rub him out early.
I think part of it was his company, like, not wanting him to be using his likeness to support a potential rival studio. Part of it was probably salt on his end.
They had nothing to worry
everyone's
about,
matured and nothing to worry about. I mean, it's really funny looking back on some of like the petty disputes that partially overblown by the community and never were as bad as people made them out to be.
You guys are all friends. Everything's good.
We're all friends, hugging.
Oh.
No, maybe not hugging, but
it's beautiful.
Metaphorically, anyway.
All right.
So yeah, that was how the Kickstarter started, and it's kind of just been a gradual evolution process since then.
Yeah.
And Kickstarter's like it's difficult to finish. Like, it was a long, drawn out process to get everything finally done with that, right? And people still think like they're like still running on that 40K, right? Just
yeah. So I mean, if you think about it, like, that's like one reasonably decent salary for like someone in the U.S. like pre-benefits for 1 year. So we have 10 full-time employees. We were living in a house that was also our workspace back then, and we were sharing it with people who weren't even part of BTS. Purge was with us, Lawrence as well, who was the landlord's son, still is the landlord's son, I think. But we didn't even have our own dedicated house, let alone our own offices, let alone a dedicated events house. So it's a common misconception. I think it's more a meme. I think most people with a brain realize, like, yes, clearly this is not paid for everything they've done since then. But I think that's just the reality whenever you see people do anything that's crowdfunding, and you even see it with things like TI. I remember, you guys remember TI4? We had the issues with, was it TI? Oh no, it was TI5 with the DDoSing. Like, there were hours of DDoS at that event. Blitz really had to poop at, I think it was TI5, the most recent one. And he was like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" I'm like, "Dude, just go. Like, just go now. I don't want you to poop your pants in the middle of the cast. Just get out of here." And he waited. He's like, "All right, I'm gonna go." And then they're like, "Guys, coming to you in 2 minutes."
Oh.
There were a lot of technical issues at that event compared to most of the other Valve events, and it was also at the time the record-setting TI. So the fans are like, "Where's our $54 million going to, guys?" And I think that's just like the nature of crowdfunding. Like, regardless of how much money it is, as soon as you do something like that, there's a huge sense of, I wouldn't say entitlement, but like, you have a huge responsibility to the community, and their expectations rise dramatically. Yeah. No matter how much the money is, no matter how much it is relative to the actual cost of the business or the event or the project, they don't see that, and normally it's just not practical for them to be able to see that. I don't see Valve, showing us a cost breakdown of TI anytime soon, but that's not going to stop the fans from getting pissed off if things go wrong with the amount that's been contributed. And the same was true for us. So I don't blame anyone who's had issues in the past when you just kind of open yourself up to that scrutiny, and we know it comes with the territory. Doesn't get frustrated at times, sure, but all you can do is just do a better job and quit your bitching.
That's I mean, you are it seems like you're doing exactly what you wanted to do. I mean, you're kind of doing what you love from what it sounds like, and you're trying to improve the Dota community the entire way through. So let's do a little bit of I'm gonna do a little bit of dick sucking. Let's talk about the summit. All right.
Oh God.
I'm gonna do a little bit of dick sucking.
Close that mouth.
All right, you ready? I still think.
Ow. No teeth, Jake.
Hey, stop! I still think the summit is the best event of the year, because you guys went and you took something that used to be very like, we are professional sports.
Yeah,
Nobody
if I
knows.
ever got invited to the summit, I'd always go.
Yeah, shut up, Hot
You
Man.
didn't get invited, you mess. Then you quit. Quit being talent.
It was a shot.
He was taking a shot. Jesus, you're such a nice lad. You don't even know when someone takes a shot.
Even recognize it, yeah.
You've grown soft, LT. All right, but anyway, one of the, if not the best tournament of the year, because it shows a different side out of players. It shows that we can have fun. We can make it a community thing. It can be relaxed, but it can also be super enjoyable. And some of the best content that's ever come out of Dota has been responsible from one of these summits, and because of them. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the summit. You got Summit 5 coming up. Where did the idea come from to do the first one? What was that process like? How was it grown? Give me the whole summit lowdown, buddy.
So there were a bunch of factors, but I think number one thing was gods for basically since around the time we were on the Kickstarter was it'd be really cool, a home story cup for Dota. And
he stole it. You stole it.
Stole it. You thief.
We literally, when we announced the first summit, we said inspired by Take TV's home story cup.
Oh,
so
yeah,
no,
inspired.
we didn't steal it because we credited him.
The nice way of saying stole.
It's not plagiarism if you cite your source, Ken. God damn it.
I guess it's
Did
true.
you learn anything in college? But no, so that was the inspiration for the event. And we just felt like this was a hugely it was kind of something Valve touched on a little bit with some of the content at TI2 and again at TI3. But we really wanted to do our own event. It had been since we hadn't done our own tournament, aside from we did that Fistful of Tangos 1v1 tournament. But we hadn't done any of our own proper team events since before TI2. So we wanted to do something. We didn't want to do an online tournament. At the time, there were so many online tournaments.
Yeah, the big tournament
way
was
more
what's
than
it
there are
called
now.
The defense, right?
The defense?
Yeah,
That was the
defense.
big...
We play. There was Starladder did 5 seasons a year or something, and
yeah, Jesus.
Every team played every tournament, and everyone watched every event. It was the glory days of Dota as far as that goes. But yeah, so we wanted to do our own event. We wanted to do a LAN event. We really liked the idea of a home story cup for Dota. We also felt like it was a good for us. So I mentioned we've always tried to grow kind of in a, not in a just crazy, going way too far out of our comfort zone fashion. And, so rather than going from doing broadcasts out of our house to doing an event at a giant stadium or concert hall, we're okay, well, what's the next step where we do a live event with teams? It's an event at a house. So we already have the space. We can set up in advance. We're comfortable here. We don't have to worry about there's a lot of other shit that goes into renting a venue. You have to often work with the union. You've got to book dates in advance. You have to get insurance. Got to pay for internet installation. There's a lot of other costs. There's a lot of other things that have to be planned. And we only planned this event, I think, in 3 or 4 months. So at the time, BTS, I think, had 4 full-time employees, myself, Diori, K-pop, and I guess he wasn't even full-time. Merlini was subcasting and living with us. So we were a small company, right? So we didn't want to do something that was out of our comfort zone. So that was the other big factor, was doing something that made sense for us and something that we thought we could do a good job with. So that's basically how we came up with the idea. It was rocky. It was not as easy to run the event as we thought. I mean, we had every kind of issue you can imagine. PCs dying, finding PCs in the first place, internet connection issues, getting DDoSed was a concern back then. We had more issues because your average residence is not meant to have 20, 30 PCs, and especially not 10 PCs on one circuit while the AC is also going. Like, there's all these weird things that if you've never run an event before, and certainly if you haven't run one out of a house, you're like, you would never have thought of it.
Yeah, there's just like 10 to 20 little issues that you probably cannot anticipate, or you need like a team of people to think of beforehand.
That
Yeah,
can
and we
completely
had a very
ruin
small
everything.
team and a very inexperienced team. But that's how we've done most stuff. Is like, I didn't know how to, I didn't know anything about production equipment when we started the company. I didn't know anything about overlays. I didn't know anything about microphones. We had never run. Well, Parker had run a few tournaments, but like we didn't know much about a lot of the stuff that we worked on back then. And we've always kind of learned as we go. And it's like, to me, it's maybe not always the most efficient or best way to do it. But I mean, like, if you look back, there's always room for improvement. But if you look back at like, the first summit, the content, the actual like quality of the game feed, just like all the little things that went wrong tech-wise. Like, say what you will about the summit, it runs a lot smoother now. I'm knocking on wood. Hopefully there aren't any huge tech issues this event. But like Summit 4 was way better than Summit 1. Everyone will look back more fondly on it. I think part of that is just some of the storylines there. Like, you had like the end of the glory days of Na'Vi. That was back when the old DK, which was like to me still the most hype all-star team ever, was in their prime. EG was finally becoming a force for American Dota. It was right before TI, and I think right before some of the invites came out, so like the timing was a bit better. I think there's definitely that nostalgia factor when people look at the first summit, but it was fly by the seat of your pants. Like, literally the first day of the event, I had been up since, I want to say, like 10 a.m. the previous day. I stayed up all night working. I was still running SDI cables for our cameras, like, as of like 8 a.m. The teams arrived at 9 a.m. Nothing had been tested because it was just way more work than we realized. There were a bunch of factors, and then we didn't have enough manpower. I did not end up sleeping until at 6 p.m. the next day. So this is like 34 hours later. So I finally collapsed on a futon for like 4 hours. I woke up in a panic because I had not meant to like snooze for more than an hour. But there's a clip. Navi sent a film crew to that event. I think Moose was there. And there's a clip of Brian walking by me in the kitchen. He's like, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed. Because right before that, I'd been on the couch casting. I kept on like nodding off, and then my head would jolt up. But like, I didn't fit at all. So he knew how exhausted I was and also how useless I was at this point. So he just kept, it's just like looking back at that, like, yeah, like last night I was up until 6 a.m. But like, we have a team. And so like, I was able to sleep it until 10, 11 a.m. We actually have a media day now. We never had that before. And it's also a great way to kind of test the house, deal with any issues that might arise as far as the tech setup goes. I slept in until 11, so I didn't sleep a lot, but at least it wasn't like all on me to wire everything. Like, we actually have a team now. We have people with some experience. We have a dedicated venue for the event. So it has come a long way, but, it's always a learning process. I think we've gotten pretty close to the max of what you can do as far as a house event goes. Mm-hmm. At least in this area of the country, it's really hard to find a suitable venue in Southern California because most houses don't have a yard. A lot of the ones that do not have fiber or any sort of good internet.
Well, my question
if you're going to find a good one, you got to buy it, which is a big commitment.
Back then, you guys had a pretty big crowdfunding push. You guys made a lot of money off of the chest, and that's not really the case anymore. I think the majors and TI pretty much suck up all the major ticket sales. So my question to you is, do you see the summit being something that's viable to do super long term? Like every year, are you still going to have 2 or 3 Dota summits? Is that something that's possible even?
So, all right. So there's a lot of factors to talk about here. I guess in general with the crowdfunding, I think this is more of a general note, not really summit specific. I think a lot of people don't really understand the way the system works. So I'll just quickly recap for those who don't know.
Oh, please do.
For the Valve events, for every dollar that is spent on like cosmetics, 25% goes in the prize pool, so a quarter basically. When you look at and they keep the other 75 cents, and that goes towards covering the cost. That's their profit. That's how the event is possible. When you look at third-party events, Valve by default, if you don't have crowdfunding, they'll take their 75 and you get 25. Now, if you do the crowdfunding, they will match you. So if you want to have 25% crowdfunding, like the same as the majors and TI, at least the way it's always worked. We haven't done it the last 2 summits, but The way I believe it still works this way is you have to give up an additional 12.5%. So Valve gives up 12.5% from their 75. You give up 12.5 from your 25. So you're giving up half of your share of the revenue, and then on top of that, that gets split with the artist. And in a lot of cases, and I think very fairly so, the artists will make the argument, hey, like the reason why people are buying this stuff is for the hats. It's especially now because you don't have third-party compendiums anymore.
Right.
The Dota TV tickets are less attractive when the majors are happening 3 times a year, and TI is lots of great replays to watch. They're all free.
Agreed.
Lots of other events have free tickets. So basically, it's all about the hats, right? So the artists often are getting the majority of that already, small 12.5%. So by the time it gets to the organizer, it's really not that much profit, but it does add a lot to the prize pool, which is big for the players. So I think there's a big misconception that like third-party organizers were raking it in, especially for live events. That definitely wasn't the case.
Wait, you think people think that you guys are raking it in?
Well, I think people think that like Captain's Draft, Summit, like they see the prize pool triples and they're like, absolutely. You see it all, but like lots of discussion. Oh my God, they're making so much money off of this. Valve is making so much money off of it.
Yeah.
It definitely helps the events as well. Don't get me wrong. Like it's only a win-win for the event, but it's not nearly as much money as going like to cover costs of the event is what people think. Most of the money goes to the players, which is fine. And I think ultimately, like the crowdfunding is great. It's a little disappointing to me that there's not more support for third-party events right now. I for a lot of reasons, I would like to see at least one less major a year. I think because like the way that I look at it is there's 3 majors and there's TI, right? And each of those events is about 2 weeks. So already that's 2 months out of the year. Then you have to factor in travel and boot camp pre-event, as well as teams wanting to rest afterwards. I would say that's easily 2 weeks per event, for the most part. So for most teams, so that's already per major / TI a month out of the year. That's 4 months. Rest of the tournament scene is 8 months to work with, and then you look at like actually teams wanting to go on vacation, teams wanting to have some like just true downtime as well. Aside from boot camps, like I think you're looking at literally 5 to 6 months out of the year that are already allocated for TI and majors that other events can't do anything in. So there's 6 months out of the year that every single third-party event is fighting over, whereas before, like you look back the TI4 era, third-party events had 9 to 11 months out of the year to work with. Probably like 9 to 10 or so.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That it's just pure like numbers wise.
Just the calendar, not even looking at the financial aspect of it. And the other thing is the way that the compendiums work now and the chests. They get a lot of the stuff related to like Manila and TI. It gets released in a very staggered fashion. So even though like TI hasn't happened yet, we're having like a bunch of major events this month. There's Summit, there's Starladder, there's Nunyan, major event. There was ESL 1 Frankfurt as well. Like ESL 1 Frankfurt was a week after the major. Like that's just, it's crazy to think that like an event that was like, and it was still a great event, but like I mean, let's be honest, like it didn't get nearly the hype or attention that it would have, pre TI 5.
So I think what we should do next time, as ESL, is maybe put the event directly before the Valve event. That way, we get all the attention. Maybe even in the same place.
No, then the teams don't want to play because they don't want to show their strats. It's tricky, right? Because teams want to play just enough events to get to the majors and go in fresh, but they don't want to get burnt out. They don't want to show strats. They don't want to, over travel. So it's a fine balancing act for the teams, and I think it's made harder by the fact that for whatever reason, and it's not easy to play these events, but the dates have come relatively late as far as announcements go. TI was announced pretty far in advance, but things like the qualifier dates, the invites, like teams were invited to TI. Players were speculating that there would be 10 to 12 invites at the Manila Major, after the Manila Major. Some of those teams had no freaking clue that they were going to have to play qualifiers, which it's not like Valve promised them they wouldn't, but I think like you look at it was eight teams invited for Frankfurt, it was 8 teams invited for Shanghai, then suddenly it's 12 for Manila, then it's 6 for TI. Sure, you can argue though that was the right number of teams to invite, but the problem is from a team point of view, you don't know what Valve's system is. You don't know how to earn an invite. So you don't know if you should play more events, less events. Doesn't matter if you play these events or you're going to have to play qualifiers anyway. So they're unsure of which events matter. They're unsure of what they need to do to get an invite, so they're unsure which events they want to play, so they wait until the last minute to accept event invites. They'll accept events and then turn them down. Like, and certainly they have their reasons. Like, I don't blame EG and Seeger for turning down Nyun after hearing what happened, but nonetheless, like, a lot of things change last minute because a lot of things from the top down are last minute. So
you have strong feelings about this.
Yeah,
David.
geez.
You practice.
It's tricky. Right?
You practice in front of the
No,
mirror.
it's not speech. Ken. It's not speech.
But I mean, you're painting a picture not a lot of people know about. I mean, third-party tournaments and anybody but Valve right now with the current system, it ain't easy, and I'm hearing it from a lot of different people.
I mean, I think it's easy. Like, I mean, you just look at ESL. Like, where is ESL investing the vast majority of the resources? Not in Dota right now. It's in CS:GO. That's like their big game. They have a gigantic mega league for that game because there's space in that scene for a big third-party league format. ECS is there. I mean, yes, CS:GO also has more Western viewership.
CS:GO is completely oversaturated now, though. Let me just put it that way. It's got so many.
You say that,
leagues.
but the viewership's still amazing. Yeah, everyone wants their drops. That's the thing we're missing in Dota is a good drop system that people actually care about. But it's really hard to have it, right? Because you can use, if you get like a good M4A1 skit, you can use that every game. You can't use your Crystal Maiden skit every game. So
right.
inherently
I mean,
the skins
it goes the other way
value.
too. There's just less. There's less possible skins though. Like I think like the CS:GO skins are like there's less of them, and they're probably more stably priced and like better. There's better value because of the whole like the way the betting system works and stuff. But in Dota, there's like more. There's just more. Like there's just more heroes. There's just more stuff.
Yeah, but you get less value per skin. Like I think,
Correct,
which is a big
but you
thing.
get more skins. You know, like in general.
Yeah,
But I think like if you only like I bought a Windrunner bow, right? But I'm only using it when I play Windrunner, so like time to skin value wise, it's like kind of crazy just how many skins people buy for the amount of time they use them for.
Right.
Well, and that's the other thing is the way that the cosmetics are set up in Dota doesn't really give you a huge reason to watch. It gives you a reason to spend money in the store.
Right.
CS:GO, there's a big reason to watch because most of the best cosmetics are things that you get by drops or that you have to trade for. Like in Dota, almost every like awesome skin is like tied to at this point, like at least the ones that are coming out now are tied to major chests, are things that you can buy or otherwise like win a chance by paying for it and rolling. It doesn't feel like it just feels like the whole skin ecosystem and just like the cosmetics like structure in Dota drives people to like be playing the game and spending money in the game, which is great, but doesn't translate into viewership because you don't like win anything for viewership.
I
think it's perfectly fair to say like, oh, we don't want those fans anyway. They're not real Dota fans. That's fine. But end of the day, it does mean lower viewership numbers. It means less interest from sponsors compared to games like CS:GO. So
don't you think
it has its downsides.
The health of Dota is more tied into the number that is at the end of the day TI prize pool than it is the actual viewer numbers? Because like if the viewer numbers are stagnating,
Valve, absolutely.
If the numbers are stagnating or they're not super high for non-TI events, as long as the TI prize pool is higher, the community has a perception that Dota is doing okay.
Exactly.
Don't you think that's the case?
Right, and that's fine. And I think Dota is very healthy from a Valve point of view. TI's growing. The majors have overall, it seems, done pretty well. At least they haven't shown any signs of wanting to stop them yet. And it looks like this TI prize pool will be the biggest ever. But that is only one part of the scene, right? Just because things are going well for Valve doesn't mean they're going well for everyone else. Like I think there's a lot of issues that players see with the current major system. A lot of them have been very vocal on social media, and I also know have talked to Valve a lot about how they want things to change. I know third-party organizers, again, it's not just ESL. I mean, you could look at a lot of tournament organizers they're focusing elsewhere because it's just difficult to run events now because there really isn't crowdfunding to go back to
My
the
question is, do we
original
need
thing
that
that started
many
this.
events with 3 majors and TI?
I think that unless Valve is going to take a right
I'm gonna take
approach,
off my ESL hat here, and just say, do we need that?
I don't know
many
if that's
events?
possible. I think it's glued to your head at this point, Ken.
Oh
but,
boy.
I
David.
mean, we don't no, we don't need any third-party events if it's like a total riot system, right? If they want to go full riot and they want to just fully run tournaments,
come on.
but if
Yeah.
you're not going to go full riot or even close to it, then yes, you absolutely need the third-party tournaments. How are you going to decide which teams go to the majors? How are you going to decide, which teams are worthy of these events, which teams to invite to qualifiers? How are you going to keep viewer interest year round? 4 events and then nothing else the rest of the year? Fans are going to get bored.
Nothing, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's some.
Like-
I mean, so there's a lot of I like, to me, there's a lot of easy things that Valve could do that like helps greatly. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed the Manila Major, they featured the stream for Twitch in the client. Like, that was a big part of the reason why the viewership was amazing, even from the group stage. Like, why didn't they do that for ESL1 Frankfurt? Why don't they do that for Starlight or the Summit? Like, if there's multiple competing events, okay, maybe it gets complicated because I understand they don't want to play favorites, but if there's one clear tier 1 event on a weekend, like, surely it's only good for everyone if more people get to watch it. So
that's a good point, David.
That's a great point,
I think
David.
they should do that.
We'll mention that one next time I talk to Ice Frog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you'll be doing that anymore after your last interview with him.
Hey. But, so, how do you feel about Dota, though? You think it's on the up and up still? You think we got some time, or is it slowly going to be going down?
So there's, it's going down, Jake. It's
No!
the game as far as, like, the actual client, the gameplay is better than ever. Like, especially at the competitive level. I'm not going to lie, pubs in Dota are really cancerous, hard to enjoy for me. I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, but competitive Dota, to me, is, like, the best it's ever been. The Manila Major had like over 100 heroes picked, I think is a record, like, as far as the percentage of heroes that got picked at a major. I think the game is strategically very deep, very rich. We see a wide variety of strategies working. So, like, the game, as far as the actual playing part of it, is amazing. I think there's a lot of room for improvement in the structure of the competitive and esports side of things. But I also think, in fairness to Valve, that they're an iteration-based company.
What the hell is going on over there? What is that?
Sorry, I had to type something to someone who messaged me something. You can edit this out, Slacks.
Nah, I ain't editing crap. Forget that. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure everyone knows how rude you are, Ken.
Yeah.
My bad. I didn't know you could hear that.
How did you not? That's like a machine gun. Anyway. So I think, in fairness to Valve, they're a company that's always excelled at iterating. So they might not do it right the first time, but they tend to get better with each event. Like, TI is a perfect example. TI won. For anyone who stayed up that first night to watch that very first game for the event, it was like some really boring Spectre versus Anti-Mage game. The stream went down like 20 times. The audio quality was like, it was like a robot talking into a tin can.
And not a lot of viewers even knew Dota at all. They were like, $1 million, and then they just started watching. Like, that was me. I watched that event, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
A lot of them thought it wasn't real. I think it was DK at the time, or maybe it was LGD. One of the Chinese teams declined the event because they thought it was a hoax. Like, it wasn't the real deal. They didn't know what Valve was.
I saw the prediction thread, and I think it was Milk was like, this would be amazing if it was a 50K tournament. Like, when when it was announced, he was like, oh my god, this is gonna be at least this is like 50K prize pool. That'd be crazy. And then they came out with $1 million.
Jesus. And the crazy thing is, for Valve, it was such a drop in the bucket. It was a brilliant marketing decision. But yeah, I'm hopeful that Valve is going to, at year end, sit down and look at the major system, look at a lot of the feedback they've gotten from fans, from third-party organizers, from teams, and I do hope to see changes. Like, I am not satisfied with the current system. I don't think they necessarily are either. It has room for improvement, at least in my book. But overall, I think the fact that they have created a major system is a good step. It's just this iteration, to me, in order to be a sustainable long-term model, especially with a lot of Valve employees moving on to other projects like VR, Steambox, Half-Life 3, if it's actually happening, Left 4 Dead 3. I mean, they've got a lot of new projects, and that's the whole Valve thing, right? Is like, once you get bored of something or something else excites you, you move your desk and you move on. And it at least feels like the Dota team is stretched a little thin now with the majors. I mean, who knows? Maybe they've got a ton of people there, but it feels like the team's smaller than ever and they have more responsibility than ever. So I hope either they bring more people in, or they find a way to just leverage the community and make third-party tournaments a little more sustainable, make the scene a little bit easier to digest for players and understand which events they should be playing, or what they need to do to earn a major invite. And honestly, like my biggest thing is 2 majors a year and a TI instead of 3. I think it gives a lot more breathing room to everyone. It allows Valve to book a venue and not have to release details and find their partner and not have to release all that stuff last minute. I think it's just a more sustainable schedule, and it's probably the way to go for me. So, but yeah, Dota as a game is amazing. It's just the esports side of things that is good, but I think has a lot of room for improvement too.
All right.
I wanna talk a little bit about the personal experience now that BTS is a little bigger. And I say a little because it's not a little. You guys are huge comparatively before. And when
we're
Twitch
not
released
ESL. I can't.
No, but like
we
I'm talking about viewers, okay? I mean, when you look at the viewership, you guys are second, right? I think if you combine both your channels on Twitch.
As far as like channel videos, yeah.
So second on Twitch, do you get recognized from just that? Like if you like, I don't know if you go to TwitchCon or like if there's any plans about that, but do you is it just like, oh my god, we're the second biggest channel, and people are just like, holy crap, how did that happen?
Have you ever seen that? I think it was like a year and a half ago. Twitch made this graphic which like showed crossover between different channels and communities. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Like that. And Dota was like its own little weird, like isolated bubble with
It was
almost
all
no
the way on the other side, right? It was like nothing
yeah,
else
like you
else.
had like Hearthstone and CS:GO and League were all like kind of mating and like nice, and then Dota's like the little awkward nerd in the corner. It's like, hey guys, can I join you?
Not even. It was more like, get away from me, you scrubs!
Yeah, it wasn't can I
Don't
join
touch
you?
me!
Stay away! Yeah,
Can
pretty
I
much.
join you?
So I think the one thing with Dota, it's a little bit less so true now because I think Dota has big crossover with Overwatch, especially a bit with CS:GO. Now that CS:GO has gone more mainstream than it was a couple years ago, it was exploded, frankly. So I think it's a little bit less true now, but in general, I feel like Dota has a very people who are Dota fans are fucking hardcore on average, right? Like they're not, they're generally just into Dota, or Dota is their number one game. Like they main Dota, it's everything else is secondary. It's kind of a temporary sideshow for most Dota players, I would say.
Right.
I think more so than other games, certainly. So I don't know too many like general gaming industry events because frankly we're just always busy like casting or planning a Dota event or working on expansion to other games.
Grace said she got recognized once.
Whoa!
Really?
Yeah, she said that she was
Where'd
at
she get recognized?
She was at some like store, and she was talking to some girl, like recognized some gaming thing that she had or something like that. And then the girl said she was a streamer and she streamed on Twitch and she was hoping to get partnered. And Grace said something like, "Oh yeah, like I also work for a streaming company that like does streaming stuff." And I don't think she knew just how big BTS was. Like I don't think Grace actually knew where BTS was on the totem pole, like how big you guys are. Relative to other channels. So she just said, "Oh yeah, I work for BTS," and that girl was like, "What the fuck? Like, isn't that like one of the biggest channels on Twitch?" And Grace was probably like, "I guess." And then that girl was like starstruck, like, "Oh my god, you work for BTS?" So
that's the great
I
thing
wanna
about
share
Grace
that
is like she gives some nice spectacle because she really doesn't give a shit about the games, the whole like. I mean, I don't either personally as far as like the celebrity culture aspect of it goes, but like there's definitely people who you can see like once they blow up as like a caster or a player, like that ego balloons along with it. And the cool thing about Grace, she doesn't give a shit about that. She's gonna treat you like a person. If you're a nice person, she'll think you're nice. If you're not, she won't. She's not gonna end in awe of you because you have a lot of followers or act different because she works for a company that has a large Twitch channel. So I think it's nice to, as gaming gets a little more mainstream, to have that more like to get out of the bubble a little bit and realize that like there's a big world out there. There's a lot of casual fans who can be really good for the growth of esports. It's okay if not everyone is a super hardcore nerd who's going to play Dota for 12 hours a day, or do nothing but watch CS:GO demos and try to get better at the game. Like that, those players have their place and they're awesome and they should be a part of it, but it's not all about them. So I do like that aspect of seeing people like Grace get more into esports. What were we talking about?
I was just saying, have you gotten any benefits from that? Like,
have I gotten
like
benefits?
your friends from like college or anything like that?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Oh my God! Now you're a big shot, David.
Well, one of my friends works for Twitch.
Go to college reunion or
Ooh.
something, and then people ask, and then David can be like, "I own my
didn't go to
own
my
production
college
company.
reunion.
I own my own production company. We only get a couple billion views. No big deal.
No big deal. Do you want to see our viewership stats? Here's the channel rankings.
Here's the
no big deal.
graphic. Download it on your phone. Do
Jesus.
it right now."
Oh, I'm super low key about that stuff. Like honestly, I'm very modest, and like I get kind of embarrassed because like I mentioned my mom likes to brag about me. Like I hate that shit.
Does
I
your
don't like
mom
being
know-
talked up.
Does your mom know that you guys have a pretty valuable business? I'm sure you've gotten some fucking
Yeah,
buyout offers and stuff.
she knows we have a pretty valuable business. I mean, for her, it's like she doesn't really care how much money I make. If I do well financially, that's just a bonus. But for her, it's more like, am I happy? Am I like, do I have a roof over my head? Am I not like
Does she
struggling to
want?
put
Does
food
she
on the
want
table?
little Davids? Is that
Why
what's
do you
next?
care so much about his parents? This is all
Dude,
you've
I'm
been asking about. You're
My
so-
mom is happily married. And
Slacks.
Jesus, get off the
Slacks, this
parents.
is
dude.
Slacks, this is important, okay?
To who?
Of
Who cares
course,
about
of course we
LD's
want
parents?
They care.
They
This
care
is
about
important.
LD's parents every
No.
single facet of their life.
Every single time, David gets asked about the boring shit, the same shit that he's talked about every time, right? Which is
Yeah.
business stuff. We
Uh-huh.
want to know about his personal life, right? And Dave, you're not married or you're single, right? So we can't ask about that. So we're asking him about his family. It's not that weird, Slacks. Just
So
because you
it's a
don't
little
talk to
weird.
your
You've been
family-
going
just
on.
'cause you don't talk to your family.
it's a little weird.
It's you keep
You're
going back
a
to
little
it.
ham.
It's a little.
But how about your mom? How's she doing?
So
No,
tell me
I-
about your dad. What is his hobbies? Is he lonely?
This is my way of transitioning into asking David about his girlfriend, if he has one.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Is
You
there a
gotta go to the
Mrs.
parent,
LD?
and then you go,
There is no Mrs. LD. I'm not married, Jake.
Is there a?
Mrs. only comes with the marriage,
Is there...
as you should know,
Oh God.
as a man who's getting married soon. I heard.
yeah, when's that
Good.
happening, Dave? When's that happening, Jake?
Oh, for me,
know.
ASAP. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm a very easy dude. I only had 2 girlfriends in my
I
life.
heard you're not going anywhere ever again. Actually, is what I heard. I heard you're done doing events.
No. Okay.
Banned.
Can I just get this out of the water? I've received several angry tweets. LD and the crew did invite me to the summit. Please don't be mad at them. They're like, why did
would they
they
be mad
fuck
at-
you? Everyone thinks I was not invited. I was invited. I had to turn it down. My girlfriend said I could not go to any more events. She said you have to choose.
She's your manager now? She
No,
dictates where you go.
I've been home 9 days out of the last 3 months. And she said, all right, I'll let you go to one event before TI.
I'll let you.
Yep. She said, you have to choose Summit or the Hub. And then I asked David. I said, David, Summit or the Hub, what should I do? And then David said, go to the Hub. So this is your fault, David. You said go to the Hub. That was you.
I did. You want
You wanna know why he did that?
To TI.
That's what
Everyone wants to get to TI.
That's what he said. He said,
And
you
I
know
said,
what?
Jake, they're probably going to do talent invites for the summit. So if you want to maximize
plus-
your chance of getting to
look.
TI, you should do the hub.
So
Jake
there you
should
go.
not do events close to TI.
We're not
Why not?
interviewing me. This ain't about me. This
You
is
know
about.
why? You know why, David?
Why?
Because people get sick of Jake. There's a peak Slacks. There's like a graph of like.
Have we hit peak slacks yet?
I think we've hit peak Slacks. We're very close to it right now. So I think this was very wise of him not to go to the summit.
What's
He
wrong with
is
you guys?
actually a very savvy and sneaky
I know.
guy.
He,
What
he
the
just,
fuck?
Oh, it's my
He
my
plays the
girlfriend.
buffoon.
It's
He
my
ain't-
girlfriend
he ain't
that
nobody's
doesn't let me
fool.
go, but he knows. He knows. We've hit peak Slacks. He's got a
How
chart.
does your girlfriend feel, Jake, about being unfairly maligned in the public eye
Exactly.
Get out
and
of here.
besmirched, her good name, dragged through the mud?
This isn't
just to
werewolf.
cover your
This isn't
'Cause
my
this
big
is some
plays.
Mafia,
This is no mafia
big play,
bullshit.
Jake shit.
No. She wants to get married and get a house, and she said I need to be around if I'm gonna get invited to TI. I'll be gone for a long time, so she was planning on that, and she said, "Stay home. You get to go to one."
And you
So,
stayed home.
I stayed
You're
home.
dutiful.
But anyway, all right,
Beautiful
we
boyfriend.
better wrap this shit up. We've been talking for so long. LD, it has been a pleasure, but I have one more thing we want to talk about. We want to talk about something non-Dota
Oh, dear.
related. What else are you passionate about besides Dota? Is there anything else? Video games? That whole
I
life?
love strategy board games.
Board
I really love
games.
them.
Like what? What are we talking
strategy board games, like really complicated, could basically be a video game board game. So Axis and Allies, Twilight Imperium, Descent, Imperial Assault,
okay.
a lot of the Fantasy Flight games. So
What's your
I'm a
favorite?
board game nerd. God, that's it's either Descent or Twilight Imperium, I think. Which me, Brian, and Rob are the board game crew. We've recently recruited Blaze.
Oh god.
But you know he's married and has a kid, so he can't be legit. You know, like committed. We question his dedication. And my friend Scott, who's in the Navy, comes and plays with us. So we have like a nice little crew going.
Where does
So,
Settlers of Catan measure up in
The Twilight,
That-
and that's like Gerg level dumpster tier trash of a board game.
Oh my god, Gerg level dumpster trash tier.
Jesus.
When you play Axis and Allies, which faction are you usually?
I like playing Axis better because they get to attack. Allies, you spend like the first couple rounds it just sucks.
So you
You're
play
just,
the Axis?
yeah. You're just losing. You're losing territory. You know, like you're losing your factories. They're just expanding.
So it's like
it's awful, man.
So now it's like BTS coming in and just taking over the space, similar to the way you play Axis in Axis.
Well,
and Allies.
okay. So the thing about Axis and Allies, it's a really long game, right? Really long game.
Well, you can.
You don't always finish, so it's more fun to be Axis. The beginning of the game is always good for Axis. So you play the first couple rounds, maybe you don't end the game, and you get the fun side. So
That's true. Okay, that's a good point.
We'll see that.
Everyone likes playing offense.
So you also play what did you say? You play Twilight Imperium?
Twilight
Which
Imperium.
is a very
That's
long game.
It's kind of like like a single session could be like 10 hours. So like we only
crap.
get to play like
10
once
hours.
every month or 2 at most.
What about the Star
Like we
Wars
set
game? I saw
aside
you
a
guys
full
playing that.
Saturday. Star Wars Rebellion. That's
Is that good? Should I
that's
get
a
that?
weird game.
Did I get Star Wars?
You know, well, first I just want to mention when we played Star Wars Rebellion, Charlie was playing, and we rolled to see who got Alliance and who got Empire. He like was borderline refusing to play when he got Alliance. Like he was so fucking salty. He's like, I have to be the Empire. He has to like live out his little emo, angry nerd fantasies.
The hot topic.
Really?
Shit.
He refused to play.
He didn't actually refuse, but he was like clearly so disappointed that he was gonna whine about it. So it's like, all right, Charlie, you can be Empire. He's like, yay!
Yay! I get to be a Darth Sith Lord. Sounds like Charlie.
He
for
also
sure.
He also plays Reaper in Overwatch. Maybe that is his.
He's
fetish.
a Reaper main.
Dude.
And I gotta tell you, Reaper is terrible on like at least a quarter of the maps.
Let's just say if Charlie could
Because
use black eyeliner
he's
and
a very
not be made
low-range-
fun of,
he's a-
he would. All right.
Yeah, he's a very low range character. Charlie actually has a really like sweet and soft side though, is the thing. Like, and he's like actually a really nice and friendly guy, despite that cold emo exterior. There's a velvety, chocolatey center.
Most
But-
goth kids
I
are.
hope Charlie goes to TI, man. He did a great job. I thought he did.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Who do you hope does
I
not?
assume that
Ken?
I assume that awkward
That's the more
silence means you guys already both know. You guys didn't say
oh.
anything. You didn't say I agree or anything like that. So
That literally meant nothing. Here's the better question, Ken. Who do you hope does not get TI? Like, who's
God
who do you
damn,
just not want to
dude.
see there?
God
who do I
damn.
not
Who's
want to
not-
see at TI? I'm
who's
not
a-
gonna call out
Who's
someone
a
now.
possible
Come on.
invite that's not deserving? Just like rake them over the coals. Come on, stand for something once in your life.
Thorin.
No, I really don't. I hope Chobra doesn't go.
Whoa.
Why not?
Because he gets too much. So one man can't have all that power. You can't go host Call of Duty and like all these other games and then still.
But then
go...
we can't see the Chopper commander again then.
Yeah, I don't like that Merlini joke, so I want to avoid that. So I didn't go, and William Cho's not going. Probably, hopefully not. I don't know. And then if Blitz is coaching and doesn't cast, maybe he won't go either, and then we'll just have one Merlini.
Finally. For the first time.
Finally won.
How about you, LD? Switch
Who's your
around.
favorite Merlini? Who do I hope doesn't go?
Who do you hope doesn't go?
Yeah, if you ask me
Yeah,
that
you
question,
fuck.
you gotta answer it, you fucker.
Definitely you, Jake. Because you're a little piece of shit for turning down our event, and you can go fuck yourself. No, honestly, that's the tough thing. I wrote a blog about it. Like, I pulled an envy. Like, was it 2 years ago now? I guess I wrote a blog about like just how it's a tough time of year for talent because like especially for people who haven't gone or kind of on the borderline, like they literally spend like their every waking moment, like for full-time talent, like I hope I get to TI. Like I'll do anything. I'll be the janitor. You know, I'll just get me there, Val. Just give me a room. I'll wipe Gabe's butt. You know, whatever it takes. I just want to work at TI, and then they don't get invited, and you feel terrible for them. And most people are truly just nice folks. So even if they have room for improvement as talent, is just it's hard not to feel for them. It's like the same way when like your team comes close but they don't quite make it, or you're rooting for both teams and one of them has to lose.
You know what they should have? They should have a wild card talent qualifier.
Oh.
At TI.
How would
bring
you
out
run
bring
that?
a bunch of people, you have them cast, and then depending on the community voting,
There you go.
cast better.
Blame it on the community.
Yeah, whoever casts better.
Can we do it like Roman Gladiator style with thumbs up or down and
Yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly.
to
It's
decide if
perfect.
they get just killed off?
You know, LD, I remember that blog. It was very movie-esque. You know, you didn't reveal that you had been invited yet, and everyone said, "Where's LD? Where's LD?" And then out from the darkness,
He didn't say.
you come out, and then you're like, "I have
LD's out.
something to say," and it was just like everyone's like, like, "Oh, is he going?"
The thing that, okay, so
It was
that
cool.
The
was-
opposite.
It was cool.
The
That was-
opposite of the
that-
normal person.
Okay,
The
well,
normal
I
person
first
announced
wanna say, I
immediately,
think that whole
"I'm
thing
going
was-
to TI."
I think that whole thing's really weird. It's like, to me, like it shouldn't be. Oh, talent, just that you're going wherever you're. Like, just make a talent announcement. Like that always I found weird and kind of awkward. And then you had like 20 different threads. Like Toby's going to TI, Blitz is going to TI, Capitalist got invited this year, and then like they had to delete them and make mega threads. Like just one talent announcement, like the same way like ESL does it. Like any DreamHack does it. Like I think it's. First of all, I think it's too much of attention and distraction for what should be just supplementing the show, which is talent. Like, I don't think talent should be the focus anyway.
Well,
But that was deliberate because I thought more people would listen, since they were like curious if I was invited or
No,
not.
it worked. That's
before
what I'm
they
saying.
did, so.
It was a great move. It
It wasn't
very cool.
malicious, but I just thought it was a good way to make more people listen, and I wanted them to think about all the people who weren't invited, because I mean, not to say like, oh, you should like invite them all. I think I was pretty clear. Like, I don't think everyone should get invited, but more. I at least hope people can like not be little shitheads and it's like, oh, he's garbage. Like, like when Nahaz wasn't invited, there's a lot of people shitting on Charlie. It's like, why is this? First of all, why is this between Nahaz and Charlie? I guarantee that it's not how Valve decided who to invite.
old.
Yeah, they're both old.
Like-
I mean, you can only got room for one old dude.
Charlie's old on the inside, Nahaz is old on the outside.
That's and the
Together
inverse.
they make the oldest man in the universe. But it's like the community just sees it, and like sometimes like that element of the community just sees it in a very narrow like zero-sum game between these two random people. And it's like the best is when it's like two people don't even fill the same role. It's like, why did they invite Cheever and not Draskell? It's like, they do totally different things, you idiots. They wanted a host. They didn't
Jake,
want an analyst.
we got way away from this board game.
Yeah, we want to talk about board games. All right.
You guys segued.
Enough of
No,
your
it wasn't
Dota
us.
bullshit. No, you asked that rude question and segued us away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you forced me to answer. I throw my own employee under the bus.
Damn.
That's
Yeah,
fucked up.
you throw it back at me though.
Yeah,
throw
but
it
then
back at me.
you took the easy way out. You didn't even call out anyone. You just called out. I mean, we all know you like Jake. You invited him to the summit.
Calling out Chopra doesn't even count for reasons you know well.
What are you talking about? You said I'm an ESL man. I'm sticking it to E ESL.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
I
let's
hate
wrap this garbage up. I don't know how long we've been talking
Get
about.
me out of this interview, Jake.
It sure has been a blast. All right, anything else that you want to say? I mean, we found out so much about you, LD. Your past, your future, your thoughts on everything. I mean, anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get to?
No, I just hope everyone tunes in the summit. I think it's going to be our best summit ever. I'm really proud of everyone here who's worked super hard to put the event together. Really excited to see some of the new faces like Adfinum, even FDL. I think, like, oftentimes with the summit, like, the real surprises are not, like, the big name teams, but they're the teams that, like, you didn't expect to show up or be interesting or show that other side of themselves that often make the event really special. So we've got some fun content planned for sure. Some memes. Even
Yay!
without Jake, we're still going to do our best. So we're excited for the memes. But it'll be a fun event. It'll be a good kind of appetizer on the road to TI. And, then we'll see you all in Seattle. So thanks for having me, guys. I'm honored to be on your
Wait, hold on. See you all in
podcast?
Seattle. Wait.
Oh!
Isn't-
I'm going to
isn't
be
there
there regardless,
isn't there
Ken.
I-League?
Yeah. So.
So we'll see you at Eiley.
See you, Niley.
Where is Eiley, Ken? I don't know.
I don't know. I asked. Did you see? I asked on.
Is that event still happening?
It's like in a week. Do you not even know the teams yet? I mean, okay, like this sounds like I'm calling them out because I'm ESL and they're probably a different company, but I want to know
Classic
so I can go.
ESL.
If it's in SoCal, like I wanna actually attend the event. You know, like
Why don't you want to attend the summit?
I'm going for one of the days. What are you talking about?
Whoa.
I'm going on
Who said
Saturday.
you're coming? Who
I'm
said
going
you're
on
coming?
Saturday.
Oh
Who said you
shit!
could come?
Oh shit!
You did. I actually asked you. What? You're not revoking it. I'm allowed to come. Don't take this away
I'm pretty
from me.
sure even if I said you couldn't come, you'd just like talk
I
crazy.
need a place to play Smash. Oh, please.
There's like no, well, not as many Smashers here. I guess there's there's K-pop,
Yeah, I'll play a few.
Charlie. Yeah, there's a few. But yeah, there's okay. So Summit, then Starladder, then TI. But yeah, it's gonna be a good month, and then time for some R&R. I think it's been a long and pretty grueling stretch, as I'm sure Jake here can relate.
Some Mafia maybe. You wanna play some Mafia?
Ooh.
Perhaps a little town meeting of some kind.
Ooh.
The town meeting? I would love it. I would love it if there was a town meeting.
Man,
That sounds great. Can't imagine who would organize such
I would
a thing,
much rather have a village meeting, but whatever. No worries, no biggie.
No, fuck.
I'd rather have a mafia meeting.
Ah!
Fuck werewolf.
Werewolf's cool. All right. Well, anyway, thank you so much, LD. If you are even thinking about not turning into the summit, you're an idiot. Go watch it. It's gonna be a blast. Wish I was there. Thanks again for your time, LD. We're all rooting for you, our Dota hero. This is Slacks and Hotbid here on HotPants. Hotbid, anything to add before we end this bad boy?
No, I'm good, dude.
He's good. That's
good.
what he says all the time.
Good luck, David.
Good luck, David.
Good luck to all of you. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. We'll see you around. Thank you.
Bye.